Hello everyone, this is Dinner Plans. This is a YouTube channel where I try, test and cook different vegan recipes, and I show you the process, the result, and I share my opinion, my experience. You know the drill. So in this video I am going to cook cookies. Yeah, I'm going to bake cookies. This is going to be almond flour cookies with banana. So these cookies are gluten-free because I'm going to use almond flour, and they're maybe a little bit on the healthier side, maybe, because the sweetness in these cookies are coming from banana. So full disclaimer, I have already tried this recipe and it's wonderful. These cookies are great, they're easy to bake, you don't have much ingredients. You have like almond flour and banana, and that's almost everything. You just need a little bit of baking powder and a little bit of salt, and that's it. That is one of the reasons why I like this recipe. Not that much, not this huge list of ingredients, and also, yeah, I bake them. They turn out great, wonderful cookies. And because I have already baked it, I want to try something different. I'm gonna add a little bit more of ingredients, and I'm gonna tell you a little bit later why. But if you want to bake these cookies, I'm gonna leave the link in the description. If you want to bake them as is, as the author is suggesting them to bake, you're gonna end up with wonderful cookies. And they're just great. This website is great. I love it. I love this recipe. But I do have like something I want to try, because in my experience when I bake these cookies, because we have the sweetness coming from just the banana, and keep in mind that you're gonna have to have the ripest banana you can get your hands on, but still you're gonna end up with the mild level of sweetness, which is great. A lot of people prefer it that way, but it's in my opinion completely, and it's gonna be like this mild kind of sweetness, which is fine, absolutely fine. But for me, when I bake cookies, when I eat desserts, I do love them to be like a little bit more sweet, a little bit sweeter. I don't know what's the correct way to say it, but when I eat dessert, cookies and baked goods as a dessert, I do want it to be a little bit more sweeter. I just want to enjoy the sweetness, but I'm also always trying, when I bake at home or make cookies at home and cakes, I do try to make them a little bit more healthier. So there's always this kind of balance. So yeah, as I have already said, you can just bake them with just the ripest banana, but I'm gonna add just a little bit more, just 2 more ingredients, just for my liking. I want them to be a little bit more sweet. Yeah. So let me tell you what ingredients and the amount of ingredients that we're gonna need. I have the amount here on my tablet so that I wouldn't mix it up. So first ingredient, of course, is almond flour. You're gonna need 1 cup of almond flour. It's roughly 104 grams, as the recipe says. You're also gonna need a little bit, half of teaspoon of baking powder, just to help them raise, and a small amount of salt. Here I have pink Himalayan salt, but any salt will do. You're gonna need like 1/8 of teaspoon, maybe even less. What I have noticed with sweet recipes, adding a little bit of salt kind of alleviates the sweetness. So if you're thinking, why should I add salt to my sweet cookies? It's actually kind of make them, kind of maybe a little bit more sweeter, I guess, because it, counteracts something or something like that. I don't know, but it's totally worth it. Adding, like small amount, 1/8 of teaspoon for this amount, maybe even 1/16. It's gonna serve you great. Also, what you need is banana, and what is important is that you're gonna have like the ripest banana that you can find, because the riper the banana is, the sweeter it is. So this recipe is completely not gonna work if you have like a green banana, because it's not that sweet. Find banana that the skin is yellow, and when it gets these brown spots, that's the best banana. It's gonna be soft and it's gonna be ripe, which means that it's gonna be very sweet. This is what you want. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna get like, banana, and you're gonna mash it. The amount that you're gonna need is, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, a third of a cup, roughly 75 milliliters. So what you're gonna do is, what I like to do with this kind of, mashing the banana recipes, you're gonna get yourself a bowl and a fork. So you split the banana in some parts, and then you're gonna, mash it with fork. And because the banana, when it's ripe, it's quite soft, it's not gonna be difficult. So you just mash it as much as you can. You mash it, you maybe stir it a little bit until you get this like puree consistency. It's very important to mash it really, really well for this recipe. Now, because I left my banana, because I was preparing for filming, I left it for some time and it got brown, which is gonna affect, I guess it's gonna affect the color of my cookies. They're gonna be darker. If I didn't leave them and the banana was not brown, your cookies are gonna come out on the lighter side. So don't pay attention that my cookies are gonna be a little bit darker. That's because I left this banana for some time. So that's what the original recipe calls for, and it's absolutely fine. As I already said, we baked it, it's great. What I wanna do is just make them a little bit sweeter. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna add a little bit of table sugar. It's gonna be 2 tablespoons of the sugar. The amount of cookies that I'm gonna get, I believe, is going to be about 6 cookies. So, it's not that much. But I do want to add it because I want them to be a little bit sweeter. So you can add 2 tablespoons of sugar, or you can add an equivalent of sugar alternative, artificial sweeteners. Usually they write on the package that it's like just as sweet as sugar. So you're gonna add like this sweetener, also 2 tablespoons. And if it's like written that it's twice as sweet as sugar, you are going to add like the half of it, so 1 tablespoon. It's gonna be fine for this amount of flour and banana. It's gonna be fine. I would prefer the cookies to be maybe a little bit more dense, and I do love, even though maybe it's not the healthier choice, but I do love when the cookies have, a substantial, not substantial, but preferable to me amount of fat. Yeah, almond flour actually is very rich in healthy fats, which is amazing as well. But what I'm gonna do is I'm also going to add a tablespoon, just a teeny tiny tablespoon of peanut butter. If you don't eat peanuts, you can add, for example, almond butter. It's gonna work great. Maybe some other seed or nut butter, but you have to find the one that is, like that. It's like this almost liquid consistency, not the dry one. And 1 tablespoon of that. This fatty butter. I just want to add it a little bit as well in my cookies. So as I have already explained, I just want to add these things and just make this recipe, work for me. But you can, like add stuff to your recipes. This is like you doing your cookies. You have the base of the recipe, but no one is like forbidding you from experimenting with it. Absolutely fine. So, for example, another thing that I believe would work really nicely, for example, if you also want to make them a little bit sweeter, instead of adding, for example, 2 tablespoons of sugar, you can add roughly 2 tablespoons of chocolate chips. Mix it in the end, and it's gonna make them a little bit sweeter, and you're gonna have this almond flour banana cookies with chocolate chip, which is delicious. So what we're gonna do is you have to preheat the oven. Let me just tell you the amount of degrees. So the amount you have to preheat the oven 350 Fahrenheit or 180 Celsius degrees. I have this cooking tray ready with baking paper that I'm gonna put my cookies on. And also, if you have this, this scoop for baking, it's very convenient. But just regular tablespoon will do as well. That is what I'm using. Let me just show you how I just mix it really quick, and I'm gonna put them in the oven. And the amount of cooking is between 13 to 16 minutes. I have already baked it once, and for me it was 15 minutes was the amount, that was perfect. You're gonna start shaking them when it's 13 minutes, and they have to be like firm and a little bit golden brown on the sides. And it varies on the oven, but it's between this time, like 13 between 16 minutes, something like that. Okay, so here we go really quickly. I'm gonna mix it. Also, what I remember is the recipe calls for using fine almond flour. Mine is like not the finest, but it is an almond flour and it also works. I think any like almond flour, that is sold as almond flour, is going to work, but be mindful about almond meal, which is a different thing, and it's not going to work in this recipe. So yeah, here I mix this part, and I'm gonna mix my table sugar. I'm sorry, I'm gonna add this sugar here. I hope it doesn't trigger you. I'm gonna mix it with my banana, which is like, unfortunately became brown because I was, when you're not just cooking but peeling, sometimes things go south. So I'm gonna mix it because it's gonna dissolve in this banana puree. And I'm also going to add this peanut butter, almond butter. If you want to add that one, it's going to work. Yeah, just a little bit, just to make them a little bit more fattier, just a little bit. You actually can make like cookies from peanut butter, almost entirely from peanut butter, which is kind of also really cool. So here you go, as you can see. I'm gonna take that one out. Now you're gonna mix, and you're gonna mix really well, of course. All the dry parts should be mixed with the wet parts to get yourself a really nice batter, cookie batter. There are a few things in life that are better than cookie batter. You might think that having just banana as your wet base is like not enough, but as you can see, what you're gonna end up with is quite thick cookie batter, so it's absolutely fine. This is the consistency that you should probably aim for. Yeah, look at that, it's very nice, very nice. Yours, just don't forget that yours are going to be a little bit more lighter in color. So here's my trusty baking tray with baking paper, and I'm going to use a regular tablespoon. I'm going to try to make them, nice, but if they're not going to be nice, they're going to be rugged. We're going to call them artisanal, and it's going to be fine. And this is how I'm going to form them. Sometimes if they are too sticky, you can wet your fingers in water, and it's going to help with them being, if they're too sticky and you're having a problem, like with forming them on your baking tray. You're gonna put them apart, like 2 inches apart. I like to, in the original recipe, I don't think that the author suggests doing that, but I do, like pat them a little bit with my finger. And yeah, let me just wet my finger. So my finger is wet and not super wet because you don't want the batter to get too wet. Of course, if you have this nice scoop that is round, the cookies are gonna look maybe more presentable if you need it. So I think I'm gonna aim for 6 cookies. And just, I just don't wanna stress too much, so they are shaped as they're shaped. As I have already said, we're gonna call them artisanal and just whatever. Yep. Some of them are a little bit smaller, some of them are a little bit bigger, but not that much, of course. Once the oven is heated, you're gonna bake them, as I have already said, 13 to 16 minutes. In I know my oven, it's about 15 minutes. They're gonna be golden brown a little bit, they're gonna be not wet, and then you just let them cool. And you got yourself wonderful gluten-free almond flour banana cookies. Here you go, a beautiful pile of cookies is ready. For me it took 15 minutes, and as you can see, they were dry. The surface was dry and there is a lot of golden brown edges, which means they were cooked. So a lot of recipes for cookies and baked goods say that you have to put them on a cooling rack, and you should put them on a cooling rack. This is a part of the cooking process. What it allows cookies to do is that it allows the bottom of the cookies to, the excess liquid to evaporate through steam, because the cookies are hot. So it's gonna, some liquid, some steam is gonna evaporate from the bottom of the cookies, and they're gonna achieve the consistency and the crispiness that they were designed to have. So that's why it's important. After baking them, you take them out of the oven and you put them on a cooling rack. But if you don't have a cooling rack, or you don't want to use it, there is a little hack that I do, because sometimes you just don't have a cooling rack. If you have it, or if you bake a lot, yes, it's ideal to put them on a cooling rack. But if not, what I do, you just wait a few minutes after taking them out, and then you flip them. And then you flip them and let them cool off. This way you do allow the bottom of the cookie, to evaporate steam and, achieve the crispiness and consistency that it needs. So that is what I did. But of course it is better to use a cooling rack. You have to let them cool completely or almost completely, because it is also going to firm them up. I'm not gonna do that because I'm a rebel. They're still quite hot, but I want to try the sweetness. Yeah, that is exactly what I wanted. As I said in the beginning, making them with just the red banana is absolutely fine. The level of sweetness is gonna be mild, but because I added this little amount of sugar, additionally, now the level of sweetness is more to my liking. You can try it this way, you can try another way. You can add chocolate chip cookies, or maybe those little bits of dried fruit, maybe. But you're gonna end up with nice almond flour banana cookies, hopefully, as I did. So thank you guys for being here. See you in my next video. Bye.